what's going on? You already know what time it is. And by that, I mean it's 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, which means it is time for some more snaps live here on the Volume Sports YouTube channel. Very happy to be here and very thankful to be here as we are every single day. If you're listening on podcasts, hell yeah. Hope the future is great. Hope that if you feel it in your heart this holiday season, you can rate it. And look, Aaron, you give me that look. Don't give me that look. I'm pretty sure like some rogue missile fired off yesterday, killed 2 Polish citizens. Like we're one NATO proclamation away.
Have you started my show? I told you that. Speaking of like the future, did you start the show?
I have not started the peripheral yet. I did realize that my wife, while she was editing last night, she started. She said it's pretty damn good. So I'm going to watch it eventually. But no, I don't know, dude. Like we could be in the middle of talking about if Lane Kiffin needs to go to Auburn, and next thing you know, we hear that we've declared war on Russia. All I'm saying is, I hope if you are listening to this on Spotify or Apple or whatever, that the future's still chill and we're still just having fun talking some college football because this is fun and I absolutely love it. Okay. Now, if you feel it in your heart this holiday season, rate and review the pod, share the pod. We love you. And also shout out Turtlebox, man. Remember, turtleboxaudio.com. Speaking of the holidays, if you need to get a gift for a loved one, a friend, whoever, yourself, right? Treat yourself, Aaron. As I become an adult, I'm a big fan of giving myself my gift all of December, right? Because January sucks. January's back to the grind. Like, I want to be able to enjoy my gift during the Christmas season. So, like, I go ahead and just get it big and center, and I love it. So, go ahead, go to turtleboxaudio.com, promo code SNAPS. It is the best outdoor Bluetooth speaker on the market. It's, I got it right here. It's big and sturdy and beautiful. It gets louder than any I've ever heard. It's 100% waterproof, which is insane. Only a few buttons, very easy to sync and manage. Battery does not die. And if you buy 2 of these, there's a little stereo button over here, and you can actually sync them and get full left and right stereo sound. It is awesome. Yes, Daniel Basham in the chat. January literally is the Monday of month. So turtleboxaudio.com, promo code SNAPS gets you $20 off and free shipping and handling. I'm T-Bob Hebert, joined by SEC legend Aaron Murray. Aaron, what's up, dude? No kid yet, I'm assuming.
No kid yet. No kid just yet. But if you do want some sweet gifts, I don't know if I can say this or not because I have no idea if we can or can't do this. But this badass hoodie I just got last night.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell you what, the baby blue just looks good on your boy. So I'm really feeling the new Snap swag. T-Bob, we'll see what you get in your little goodie bag here the next day or two.
Yeah,
but if we get some gear out, make sure you go get some Snap gear for the holidays. There we go.
Yeah, last time when Snaps, I still have that giant poster that I don't know what to do with of our faces. But they also gave me like a box of merch, right? We were at Baton Rouge. It's all larges. Like none of it fits me. I wear a 2X and everything, but that's okay because that means that we can give it away to some of our loyal Snaps listeners. I'll figure out some way of giving that away and getting it to y'all. So it'll probably do with having to be in the chat. So shout out to Payne, YouTube, Andy J, Clint Mose, Dan Bass, Rob G, Whipmaster, Hard, Dart J. Look, if I miss you, man, we love you all. We thank you so much for being here with us. So on today's show, we'll do a quick playoff ranking reaction. And I say quick because looks like they may have gotten it right? Then we sat down with Ronnie Brown for about 20 minutes, and it is awesome, dude. Like, Ronnie gave us some great insight into Cadillac. If you are ever a fan of the 04 Auburn team or just like remember them, I think it's worth sticking around till the end. It's a fantastic sit down that we just did. And so check that out. And then at the end, special edition, use your words. We're going to look at the health of the conferences in terms of like, okay, who are the happiest and saddest fan bases by conference. And when we sat down to do this, I ended up having a lot of fun with it. So we'll check it out. Andy J says Ronnie Brown and Cadillac, best duo all time. Brum did just inform us that they got drafted 3 and 5 overall running backs getting drafted 3. I forgot that we, that when I was a kid, that's how that it was that extreme. And never forget, Jason Campbell also went in the first round. So that entire undefeated backfield went in the first round. And I guess Tommy Tuberville went on to be a senator. So, wow, the world is crazy. Aaron, playoff rankings last night. What'd you think, man?
A lot happier this week than I was last week. A couple things here or there that I'm not upset with. Like last week, my big beef was my UCLA Bruins, which should jump back inside the top 15 after a big win versus USC this weekend. So I'm not too concerned about where they are right now. They just don't seem to get respect. A 7-3 Kansas State's ahead of them right now. Kansas State's at 15. UCLA is at 16. Then I look up.
Sorry, continue. Continue. Yeah.
They're going to beat USC. So that's what they're about to do, T-Bob. That is what is about to happen. So that's a resume builder right there. The one team that's a little bit lower that I could see move up, that's not there inside the top 10. I don't know if they deserve a top 10, but North Carolina at 9-1, I would put them ahead of Penn State. I would probably put them even ahead of Oregon as well. I think the way that they're playing, defense has improved a little bit. You have Drake May, a Heisman, potential Heisman finalist quarterback, and if more people watched him, they would all have him in his top 3. Make sure you go watch the video that we just posted on, I think, Twitter and YouTube, kind of breaking down why we think he's so good. I also think it was in yesterday's show as well. He's special. So they're not getting a lot of respect. I think that's part of the part to do with the ACC just not getting a lot of respect. But from the top 10, I feel pretty good. Obviously, we know Georgia won. Ohio State, Michigan 2-3, doesn't really matter. Who's who. They'll play each other next week. TCU at 4 is perfect. I think you could make a case TCU should maybe be higher. Is Michigan and Ohio State a better football team? Yeah, maybe they are, but Michigan's resume is nowhere in the same ballpark as TCU. It just shows you that the committee still does not value the brand of TCU football. I'll say what I said 3 weeks ago. If that was Oklahoma or Texas, that was 10-0 with that schedule, they would be the number 2 team in the country right now. But it's TCU, no respect. They're number 4. Tennessee at 5, LSU at 6. And I think the interesting thing right now, as we will continue to debate who has a chance to move up and not, who can get into the top 4, Tennessee at 5, I think we can all agree is in a good position to move up if TCU loses at some point, or once the decision's made of who wins the Big Ten based on that Ohio State-Michigan game here in 2 weeks, they have a good opportunity to move to that top 4. Clemson's all the way at 9. They're behind an 8-2 Alabama. They're behind an 8-2 LSU. Has the committee made the decision between Clemson being at 9 and North Carolina being at 13 that a lot has to go right for one of those teams to work their way in? Or, in your opinion, T-Bob, do they have enough style points still left on the table to, regardless of what happens, really make a move up here in the next 2 or 3 weeks?
No, one of my main takeaways is that Clemson is still very much alive. I don't know about UNC, and I think that goes back to brand, and that's arguably unfair because they would have played the same schedule and maybe even lost to the same team. Did both of them only lose to Notre Dame? Am I crazy?
They both lost to Notre Dame. Yep.
Okay. So, because when I look at it, Aaron, like you said, Ohio State, Michigan, loser's out. The loser is not getting back in, no matter what. I'm cheering for TCU, but if they lose, it's very simple. And then we all know about USC. If they lose,
even if they lose,
12 is out.
Even if they lose this week, but still win the Big 12, you're saying TCU's out.
Well, again, we touched on this yesterday. I don't know. Right. But my point is that's what it would come down to, right? In this scenario, LSU loses to Georgia, and then all of a sudden you arrive and there is Clemson. Because it's not going to be 8-2 Alabama if Clemson's a 1-loss conference champion. It's essentially Clemson. The reports of Clemson's playoff death have been greatly exaggerated, unless USC runs the table, they control their own destiny, they'll be in, or TCU runs the table, they control their own destiny, they'll be in. First one to get in, if any of these things fall, is always Tennessee, and then we'll see who gets in after that. So, Tennessee's got to be real happy with this. So, I got really nothing. I feel like we kind of shot our playoff load yesterday, and I don't know that last night's rankings really changed a lot of it.
I think it goes back to what I said yesterday. A lot of this, it happens every year. We get excited. The first rankings come out, we are all pissed off. We hate the committee. They're a bunch of idiots. Why do they deserve to make these decisions? Let's play it on the field. What the hell they watch, and they don't even know football. All these just pissing and moaning for weeks on end. But at the end of the season, it all works itself out. But it's fun, though. It is fun. It's entertaining. It lets us get some anger out at someone. We usually put that on the committee. But I guarantee the next 2 weeks, teams are going to lose. Obviously, Ohio State or Michigan's going to lose. Either USC or TCU, one of them will lose one of these next 3 weeks.
I think we have our next Aaronism.
I know. What
was it?
I guarantee you the next few weeks, some teams are going to lose.
No.
Really good. No, I get what you're saying.
Of course, I get what you're saying.
But then I narrowed it down. I narrowed my comment down to TCU or USC.
Yes, no, I know, but it is a bit like I think in order to win this game, I think the key is going to be scoring more points, right? I mean, I think that's one of the when it's all said, when the dust settles, if you manage to score more points, there's a great chance you're going to win.
Do you believe that?
No, I get what you're saying.
Feel they're both like USC and TCU are both going to go 3-and-out here in the next 3 weeks?
No.
One of them will lose, if not both.
Yes,
those are
I
two
agree.
that need to lose. Yes,
I agree. Like the playoff situation always does have a habit of clarifying itself. Yep. So we'll see. One team that is nowhere near the playoff, but would love to be here in a few years are the Auburn Tigers. I've had a weird thing with Auburn recently where I started so low on them, and then after Saturday and talking to you, maybe I'm coming around a little bit. You know what? Let's talk to Ronnie Brown about it. Auburn great, NFL vet. Now a successful financial advisor. He sat down earlier. Here is Ronnie Brown on Snaps. Hey, what up, everybody? Check it out right here. Our latest Snaps guest. I am very excited to talk to the legend, Mr. Ronnie Brown, Auburn great, NFL great, financial advisor. Yes, now a civilian like the rest of us. Ronnie, what's going on, man? Thank you so much for joining us here on Snaps today, dude.
What's up, man? It's good to join you guys, man. I appreciate you guys for, sharing your platform and having a little guy like me on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Like you're not doing us a favor. Well, and Ronnie, it's funny because there's a lot of weeks this football season where if we had talked, maybe it wouldn't have felt so good, right? But I mean, what did it mean to you to watch that scene in Jordan-Hare last week? Like there's a little juice in the air down on the plains, it feels like right now for the first time in a while.
Yeah, man, it was amazing. For a couple different reasons, but for me mainly, obviously, my affiliation with Auburn, my loyalty with Auburn, but to see my buddy, my former running mate, lead the charge, and I think even just turn the ship in terms of attitude, the field, the presence. The first game out at Mississippi State, to even see how the guys responded, because he and I had a conversation prior to that. And, he was scared. He's like, man, listen, I've never done this. I've never been in this position. And I was like, man, listen, if I could tell you anything, just be you. And the way that these guys are responding to him, his presence, his leadership, it's been amazing. And then for him to go out and get that win last week, I was happy for him, and just to kind of see, there's a different feel. You've been in the stadium last week. You would have never known that this Auburn football team was 3-5. Going into that, from a Tiger Walk to even just because the stadium, I think it was prior to the game or that week, it was probably 50% of the tickets weren't, people weren't showing up because the Arkansas game, it was kind of like, man, like, is this an Auburn game? But then they showed up in drone. Like, I mean, it was a lot of people, and, he was appreciative, and he lets them know, like, man, I appreciate you guys. Like, and I think that's the thing with him. The staff, like everybody affiliated, there's an appreciation for what they're doing, their contributions.
Go ahead, Aaron. So one of the coaches on the staff, Christian Robinson, is the linebacker coach. Christian was my roommate in college.
Wait, dude, I played with Krob in high school. Do you realize this, Aaron? We've never made this connection before.
You're such a Georgia boy from yesterday with the Lees to now Christian Robinson.
Yeah, dude.
You are deep down. I know you think you're a Baton Rouge guy. You had Georgia blood going through those veins, T-Bob. But anyways, Christian was my roommate. Christian was the linebacker. He was he essentially got everyone situated. I mean, we had studs on that defense, from Alec Ogletree to Bakari Rambo. Like, we were loaded. But he was always loaded. Everyone the spots. Yeah, we are, especially today. But anyways, we weren't that as loaded back then. But we knew Christian was going to be a coach. His dad coached high school ball. I still think does coach high school ball here in the state of Georgia. That was his goal, and he's just continued to climb, and has obviously a role there at Auburn. Did you know that Cadillac would be a coach? Like, was that ever talked about? Whether back in the day, like, hey man, when I'm done, I want to get in the coaching, or has that whole transition been a little bit surprising over the past couple of years?
Yeah, no. I always kind of knew that he would be around it. I didn't know what capacity. Because you get guys, even myself, like I loved football. I loved the competitive nature of it. I loved, the opportunity it awarded me, like from high school and being able to go to college and get my degree, to even going on and furthering my career. But there's some of those guys that they eat it up. Like they're all ball. Like he used to watch the draft. He'd write the guys' names down that got drafted. Like he paid attention to all of those things. And I'm like, man, the way that he's around ball, he loves being that, and it's the passion for it. He was one of those guys. Because even now, like, I rarely watch NFL football. Like if I'm home and I'm sitting down, I'll watch some, but but he was always one of those guys. And so when he got into it, even when he went to some little school in Arkansas, when he started his career, he was like, man, I want to work my way up. I don't want to call any favors in. I don't want to call any people that I know. He's like, I'm just going to go into it and I'm going to grind. And so even seeing it now, like that's why I respect that, because he didn't put in those phone calls or, and he just worked his way up. He was at that school. He was at West Georgia. He went to IMG Academy, and then, he coached the Birmingham team, that team, and then he got the call at Auburn. And so seeing that journey has been special as well.
Well, and it was, I mean, I'm so happy you mentioned the crowd last week, because it's been something that I've talked about multiple times this week on various shows. I was blown away. Like there was no right for Auburn.
You give no respect.
Okay. So that's what I'm getting to, Aaron. Shut up. That's what I'm getting to. Zero. I'm not going to let you. No. I'm going to tattle on myself here. I'm not going to let you head me off here. Okay. This is the Eminem 8 Mile technique. Yes, I have been a bit of an Auburn hater. Okay. I think it's a very tough job right now with Kiffin on one side, with Nick Saban on one side, Kirby Smart now on the other. I mean, it seems like it's a tough spot. And Brian Harsin had made the whole thing feel so kind of unattractive. But I think that's why I was so blown away with last Saturday. And Ronnie, I would ask you, like, am I wrong in being like concerned about who has to be the next head coach at Auburn, given the competition, given like the booster setup, some of the expectations? It just seems like a really tough spot right now.
Yeah, no, it's a tough situation, and it's going to be challenging for anyone. And it's been disappointing as well when you look at what's happening all around us, even down LSU. Then we're in between Alabama and Georgia, and so to see that, and we're the same caliber in my mind, a football team with the same potential, and not to see us live up to those standards, it's tough to watch. And as a fan, as a former player, but it's also the right situation too for the right person. I think if you're a challenge, I mean, if you're a competitor, this is the situation you want. You want to come in. It reminds me of, before I came to Auburn in 2000, we weren't the greatest football team, but part of that challenge was how can we help turn this thing around? And if you have those competitive juices, you have the potential, you have the opportunity there. Obviously now NIL, but being in between those two places, it's like, hey man, like we're in the same stomping grounds, and everyone can't go to those schools. And so if you're a competitor, you come in and you share that, and then also you see like the weekend, like last weekend, that stadium. And what Auburn has to offer, the field, the family feel that it has, it's something different. And it's not like everything else. Georgia has its own thing that it has. Alabama has its makeup. A lot of it's based on history. LSU, I think just the draw of that stadium, defensive guys, and then if you've been there at nighttime. And so each stadium has its own thing. But I think Auburn is something special that a lot of people, if you talk to them, you can't really put your finger on it. It's just something different if you've experienced it.
So I want to go back to the discussion with Cadillac as the head coach now. And obviously he has 2 games left. And I mean, my goodness, how awesome would it be to see them beat Alabama in 2 weeks, and then that whole conversation get a little bit kooky. But yeah, we all know the names that are essentially up for this job right now, from Lane Kiffin to Dion to Hugh Freeze, and who knows if there's a dark horse we're not even talking about. Is there a world in your mind, regardless if win or loss, and obviously win does help, that Cadillac could be that guy?
Yeah, I think for me, it's, a lot of times it's like, Aaron, we were in the locker room. I don't want the best players. I want the right players, right? Like I want somebody who understands their role. I want someone who accepts their role and is going to do it to the best of their ability. And then they're also accountable. And they're great at the things that don't take talent: punctuality, attitude, attention, effort. If you focus on those things, then attitude is a reflection of leadership. And so if you get the right person in there, then everything else kind of takes care of itself. What we're seeing now is, even in his short tenure as a coach, Cadillac's proven to be a great leader, getting these guys to follow him. One, I think because of relatability, but then also I think just he cares. It's just his passion. And so, I think that's the draw. And so his name could obviously be in the hat. I don't even know, I wouldn't want to speak for him and say that, he hopes that. I think he's just having fun and enjoying the experience, but also getting the understanding of, at some point in my career, I could see myself doing this. And I think that's been the cool experience for him. But for everyone else, it's like, hey, man, let's just get the right guy. And everything else takes care of itself.
I mean, yeah, he looked perfectly natural last weekend, leading the boys out there, his sideline demeanor, the actual decision-making portion of the game. Like, he was great. And we have seen this, right? LSU ends up going with Coach O, and I know how that ended. But really, I mean, it didn't fail because he was like an interim coach or anything. It failed because, success and everything maybe kind of went a different way.
They still won a natty, for goodness sake.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And they still had like the best. So it can. It absolutely can work. One of the quotes that really stood out to me is, and it does show you how much Cadillac cares about his players and the guys that have committed to him and the program, the Auburn family. He talked about how, like right now is a time for healing. Like these players need to be healed a bit. And I know partially that's just because, look, it's been a disappointing season, and at a school with expectations, that weighs very heavily. Fired coach weighs heavily. Transfers, kids leaving weighs heavily. Your friends leaving. But what did you heard? Like how broken had it kind of gotten underneath Harsin to force this move a year and a half in?
Well, I think it was just the attitude. Like we were just talking, attitude is a reflection of leadership. And after that Penn State game, I felt like the life of the program wasn't there. Even just watching the guys compete, I just felt like it wasn't the same, especially comparing it to what I've seen these last couple of weeks. And I'm not going to say it was all his fault, in terms of blaming it on the coach, because there's multiple layers to any time you're in a program. You're the CEO, essentially, as the head coach of an organization. But there's also, just when you're talking about being a leader, you have to be organic. You have to be authentic yourself, like authentically yourself. And you have to do that over time, and so it's easy to say I'm this person, and not saying this was harsh. And I'm just saying that has to be in the fabric of who you are, and it has to be consistent for these young men, especially talking about college athletes, to follow you on a consistent basis. And you're always challenged by fan base or, donors. And so that has to essentially be who you are all the time. And if not, that will eventually come out. And so, I think Carnell, it's seeing that that's who he is. This is the person that I know. And so it's exciting to see the world get to see what I know as a friend. And I think the great coaches are themselves over time. I think Mark Richt was always the same person, even, seeing him as of late. Like, he's the same person that, that I met at a banquet a long time ago. Nick Saban, who I played for, he's essentially the same person, whether it's, whether you like that person or not, he's that same person. And so then it's up to you to decide, is this someone I want to be associated with? And so ultimately, I think that's the key characteristic is that baseline personality, who they truly are, and is that someone you want to be wrapped around with or connected to, over an extended period of time.
All right, so the roster's obviously seen some turnover just this season alone. I feel like the entire half of last season's class is already gone. They're out the window. They're in the portal. This is a program that is going to have to rebuild, whether it's through high school or through this great transfer portal, which is about to be a complete crap show in about a month from now.
Yeah.
Does it worry you all, as a former guy who has been a part of the more traditional route, would you be for a complete overhaul of like, hey man, we just got to bring in 20, 30 new faces, and it doesn't matter if it is from the transfer portal, let's just bring him in and see if we can get competitive next season.
Yeah, I think it's a bonus now, and it's like I said earlier, I don't want the best players. I want the right players. I've played with guys who were 2-star guys, 3-star guys, that turn out to be true football players. And I think that's the essence. We miss that sometimes with all of these recruiting sites because everyone's trying to get the 5-star player, which may not always be based on talent. And so there's some people who haven't been given opportunities from small towns who are just absolute football players. And so, when I talk to a lot of young guys, I'm like, there's two types of guys. There's those guys that play football, and then there's football players. And so it depends on which one you want to be. Because the guys that play football like all of the things that come along with it, whether it's the uniforms, the gear that we get, the facilities and all of that stuff. But when it boils down to it at the end of the day, are you playing or are you not? And then so you're just understanding that. And so when you look at football players, I wouldn't mind getting a complete overhaul. Like, at the end of the day, it's like some guys that left shouldn't have been here anyway. Other guys had certain circumstances. And so the transfer portal is a little bit of a, it's a unique situation because part of it is, well, if this guy's in the transfer portal, I have to ask a question as a head coach. Like, are you totally committed or were you just not good enough looking for a better opportunity? So you have to be, diligent in looking at the transfer portal as well. But then at the end of the day, it's like, I want the guys who love football, who appreciate the grind, who don't mind that, but also are team players, have great character, understanding, and because great people make great football players. And so then the talent part of it, because I'd rather have that 3-star that's going to give me 100% every play than that 5-star that I may can get him to play every so often. And so that's just how I look at it.
So that's actually pretty fascinating, Ronnie, about the character thing, because we have one of LSU's trainers for the last 30 years, right? He loves numbers, data, and he created basically a character metric, a way of judging the kind of overall character of a roster. And he has seen a direct correlation between the teams that score highest there at LSU have had the most success versus, there is that direct correlation. If you take care of that culture part, then the winning does come. But look, okay, you've given us a lot of high-minded, great answers today. I want to end here. If you're my age, I'm 33. It is impossible not to remember the backfield of 04 Auburn with you, Cadillac, and Jason Campbell. When was the last time that you three were in a room? Because I know once we get to be adults, you never get to hang out. Nobody ever gets to see each other. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, dude. That makes what about maybe before that then? What's it like when you three get together? Is everybody still super tight and everything?
Yeah, so it was probably a couple months ago, earlier this season. After the game, we'll go by Carnell's house. May eat dinner or something before getting back on the road.
So y'all are still going to each other's house, not even running to the stadium. You're still kicking at the crib together.
Yeah, so it's funny. We have a group text. It's 14 of us from 2000 to 2001 signing classes. And so someone says something every day. Awesome. But, Jason's my son's godfather. And then, Cadillac, we see him all the time. And so we all still talk a lot. And so that relationship, it's deep. We were all together last weekend at the game just in support. And there was 30 other guys from our classes that came in the locker room before the game just in support of Carnell and him being, interim head coach. And so that was pretty cool. But as far as that core group, we still see each other, pretty much on a weekly basis because we go to Auburn. But even outside of that, we still go to each other's houses. Jason lives here in Atlanta. He's in Johns Creek area. I'm down in Sandy Springs. Carnell's in Auburn. So, I think it's easy. And, along with a couple other guys that played with us as well.
So is it Carnell or Cadillac? I've heard you said both. What is most used amongst the guys?
Carnell is his given name amongst the fan base, but I think Cadillac. So everybody knows the Cadillac.
Yeah, I keep trying to force myself to say Carnell because I don't know if that's now that he's a coach. I didn't know if he wanted to be Coach Carnell, but man, Cadillac.
It's Coach Lack now. Coach Lack.
Oh yeah, okay, Coach Lack. There you go. Perfect. Thank you. Also, on the scale of nicknames, Cadillac is pretty badass. It's up there. It gets the message across immediately.
Well, I was a Tampa Bay fan. I grew up in Tampa, so I was excited to get one of you as our running back in the day. So obviously we got him. You went down to Miami, which was my mom's side of the family's from Miami, so they were excited to get you, obviously.
The Wild Dolphin. Never forget.
Baby.
It was fun. I enjoyed Miami. We just need, even still talking about we needed a little bit more stability down there. I was drafted by Coach Saban, but I tell people in the 6 years I was there, we had 3 head coaches. I had 9 or 10 quarterbacks. We had 2 GMs essentially, and we had 2 and ownership changed hands as well. So it's a lot going on.
That is chaotic. Still got that Pro Bowl. Let's go. Ronnie Brown, thank you so much for joining us today, man. We have kept you long, but this was a ton of fun. And I will say, I have I see now what Aaron's been talking about with the Auburn stuff after last Saturday. After seeing that scene in that stadium, I definitely had my eyes opened a bit more. So thank you so much, Ronnie.
All right. Appreciate it, man.
Ronnie Brown, what a great dude. I mean, great insight. Just gave, really thoughtful, I thought, in his responses. I know how life tends to drive us apart. It makes me so happy that him and Jason Campbell and Coach Lack are still kicking it at the crib, right? Not just, at the game, seeing each other, clapping each other in the back, laughing, but at the end of the day, going home, having drinks, smoking stogies. Life is good. And that team should have been national champions. I mean, it really is a different era of college football when Auburn could go undefeated and not, an SEC team go undefeated and not be national champions. It's crazy, Aaron. It's absolutely insane.
Crazy. I'm happy you finally came along to the idea that Auburn is a good place to be. And I listen, the
maybe I was just
the whole booster thing is, I would say, maybe a little bit overblown. Every school has some issues when it comes to boosters trying to be involved. And yes, Auburn may be at the top of the list when it comes to that, but I still don't think that takes away from the fact that you get to coach in the SEC. You have a brand new facility. You got a ton of money when it comes to NIL now in that war chest. It is a premier job out there. And it just, the more I think about it, the more, to me, Lane has to go. He just has to go. It's Lane's job. It just, everything right now is just keeps coming back to him, and because it just makes way too much sense.
It is a bit interesting, right? How do you handle this stuff in the day of the early signing day? Does Lane jump immediately after the season would end and then try to close?
Oh, yeah.
It's yeah, and you know what, Aaron? I think I don't know if you've just been beating me with Kiffin so hard, but I think you've actually kind of convinced me a bit.
Lane just wants the transfer portal. And what does that open up right after SEC championship game? That next week? You get him at the end of November.
Yes, to enter your name into the portal. Remember, you don't have to transfer in that window, but to enter your name, it starts the day after Selection Sunday.
So you get him before that, and you say, hey, man, go rebuild our team for 2023. As he's proven, there's no one better in the game at going through the portal to rebuild a roster than Lane Kiffin. So I do think that there's a want to get someone signed, I would say, immediately after that Alabama-Auburn game. Sunday, Monday, I would not be surprised if we have a head coach named Sunday, Monday for Auburn.
You're getting into Les Miles territory there. I think this team has a want of having a head coach announced by Monday. God, you say that shit all the time.
I can't believe you just mixed Les with Gilbert Gottfried.
No. I maybe the Gottfried just coming because my own vocal cords are slowly going down the Gilbert Gottfried path. But anybody who played for Les, I can't explain it because his voice isn't that high pitched, but it is. Anybody who played for Les, the Les Miles impersonation is this right here. He's always got his hands up and he's talking to you like this. Hey, T-Bob, shut the fuck up. I'll tell you all that story when he told me that one day. It's a very funny story. That might have to be a Snaps After Dark story, though, unfortunately.
Whipmaster Hart says Hugh Freeze ? In the chat. Hugh's 3. Hugh is 3. It's just
who's who's 1? Lane's 1. Who's 2?
Dion.
Oh, okay. I'm
hearing more and more Dion really wants the job. I just think he's second right now. Yeah.
Oh man.
I'm glad Aaron buried the most interesting news nugget till 2:37. All right. We're playing a game. We're playing a game out of protest. We're moving on.
We're moving on.
All right. So use your words. We are going to do the happiest and saddest fan bases in each conference. T-Bob, you go first. The happiest fan base in the ACC is, unless you're unprepared, and Aaron can go first.
No. I have all my teams very much chosen out. Let me get to my ACC teams. I mean, this one's easy, boys. It's where I went to basketball camp multiple years growing up. The happiest one in the ACC is UNC, dude. Are you kidding me? I mean, look, we talk about it all the time. This is a great place to start because it's going to kind of frame a lot of this. Nothing hurts worse than missed expectations. Nothing feels better than surpassed expectations. UNC has gone through both in the last 2 years. They enter last year ranked top 10. They got a great quarterback coming up, upperclassman in Sam Howell. Like, the world is going to be their oyster. What do? They go 6-7, 3-5 in the ACC. That feels awful. And now, all of a sudden, a year later, with a redshirt freshman quarterback, when they had no expectation, when this team wasn't supposed to be anything, you look up, they're 9-1. They've locked up a trip to the ACC championship. They're top 15 in the country. They have a legit Heisman candidate in that freshman quarterback. Drake May right now, y'all.
5-1 on FanDuel. Shout out.
Is he up to 5-1?
That a boy,
dude.
That a boy.
And he leads the nation in total yards. Because don't forget this. Drake May, on top of throwing for 3,400, Aaron, he's rushed for almost 600 yards. Like, he's UNC's leading rusher as well. He's got 5 scores on the ground, 34 through the air, so he also leads the country in touchdowns accounted for. Like, just such a wild and unexpected upgrade from Howell to May and the team from 6-7 to 9-1. Of course, UNC is the happiest fan base right now.
All right, I'm going to go. I do like that one. I agree with you. They're very happy. I just don't think they really give a crap about football. So it's still a basketball school. Like, at the end of the day, it's a basketball school.
It is a basketball school.
They're happy, but whatever. Who cares? We're just here for basketball. That's what UNC is about. So I'm going to focus on a team that is happy because they are a football-first school, and they're actually finally performing like who we think they should be performing like. That is the Florida State Seminoles right now, 7-3, inside the top 25. I would say one of the hottest teams right now in America, the way they're playing at the moment. Whooped up on Georgia Tech, destroyed Miami 45-3. I mean, beat the living crap out of them. And then a game that I thought would be closer, I took Syracuse with the points. They embarrassed Syracuse 38-3 last week. This is a good football team. They played Wake Forest strong, lost to them. They played Wake Forest or Clemson strong. They lost to them, and they played NC State strong. They lost to them. So, like, all 3 of their losses were competitive. They battled. They were tested. And then they come out and then go through this 3-game win streak. I think they're a better team than Florida. They get Florida at home. Also, we're talking about a 9-3 FSU who beat Miami, who beat Florida, can say, hey, we run the state of Florida. Mike Norvell's got things going right now. Jordan Travis is playing some of the best football that he's played. Things are really picking up right now in Tallahassee. You should be really, really excited if you're a Seminole. And I do think they are very, very excited that they get things going. And the good thing too, when you look at the SEC or the ACC, I still think there's a lot of negativity around Clemson right now. So you kind of look at Clemson and say, hey man, we talk about the SEC and the reign of Nick Saban being maybe towards the end. Is the reign of Dabo slowly going down right now? And does Florida State smell blood in the water as that program is building in the right direction right now?
So this is already a very fun game because I thought for sure we would have the same answer, and already you surprised with a great answer off the top. Brum, who do you want to go first with saddest in the ACC?
You go first.
Okay. I don't want to, okay. Well, I mean, this one, now I would be shocked if we have different answers here because I believe that we hold these truths to be self-evident, and that is quite obviously Miami. I mean, come on, dude. They were supposed to be vastly improved under Mario Cristobal. They moved heaven and earth to get Cristobal, forcing Diaz out, spent a ton of money in NIL. They had a lot of recruiting success in the offseason. It's a weak conference. The U was supposed to be back. And yet, here we sit. And they're 3-3 in the ACC, which is bad enough, Aaron. But the 5-5 overall looms incredibly large when you start to look closer at this schedule. That includes a 17-9 loss to an awful Texas A&M team. A loss that preseason would not have felt bad at all, but 17-9 to this A&M team, very bad. Like you said, 45-3 to Florida State. That's embarrassing. Like, I would not be surprised if that's the largest margin of victory in that series all time. 45-21 to Duke. Speaking of basketball schools, Aaron, you let Duke football players score a touchdown and then do the U down on you and then break it over their knee. That's an all-time low moment. And then, of course, we arrive at the Middle Tennessee game, in which you lost at home by 14 and just wasn't even competitive, really. Like, you did not look like you're not the better team. You still got to play Clemson and Pitt. Definitely will be one loss, very much could be two. And so in the end, you fired Manny Diaz after he went 7-5, 5-3 in conference. You're 100% guaranteed you're going to have a worse record. The stadium situation is horrid. It's just an awful time to be a fan of the U, especially with what you talked yourself into.
All right, we are actually different. You took the easy one there. I'm going to take one that's a little bit different. The saddest fan base in the ACC is the Clemson Tigers.
I knew.
Reason being, they have looked at themselves as the big dogs. They've looked at themselves on the same level as Alabama. It's been the Alabama, Clemson battling out for national championships for the past, 5-7 years, just back and forth, elite quarterbacks. All of a sudden, it's been 2 years now where it's not been like that. And yeah, you may make the playoffs this year and you're kind of still on the outside looking in. I'm just saying, like, the being at the national spotlight of the top 2, 3, 4 team in the country going forward and competing for national championships, I think that is past Clemson. Like, we asked the question of, like, how many more championships is Nick Saban going to win? I think maybe one before he retires. I think it's past Dabo. I don't know if Dabo wins another championship at Clemson. I think Clemson fans are seeing that right now, that they are being passed up, in which sucks because they're in such an easy conference. So I think they're a little bit sad right now that going to national championships every other year is kind of a thing of the past.
Yeah, we will.
All right, Aaron, let's move to the Big Ten, and you're going to go first with the happiest team in the Big Ten. Happiest fan base in the Big Ten.
Happiest fan base in the Big Ten. I'm going to go Michigan right now. I was a little bit torn between Michigan and Ohio State. I just don't think anyone's really happy in the Big Ten, just to be honest. But I think they're happy in the sense of the hardball thing did work out, and they're winning football games. And I do think there's a really legitimate chance, and I think they believe it too, that they're going to win this game in 2 weeks. They're the more physical team. They're the more physical at the both lines of scrimmage. And it worked last year, and I think it can work again this year. So I think they're really, really happy with where they're at right now as a program. So yeah, go Michigan, go Big Blue.
Okay, Brum, I have both Michigan and Ohio State, and you can say cop out, but the thing is, I think this is actually the most interesting part about the Big Ten is that you literally really, and it's kind of what you're speaking to, Aaron, would say nobody's happy. It's so boring that you can't even discern between the two best teams. Like, both were expected to be great. Both are great. Both handled the only pseudo test they had in Penn State very well. Both know that if they beat the other one, not only do they win their biggest rivalry game, but they will go to the playoff. Both like their quarterbacks, both like their coaches. And you could say that Ohio State likes their two more, but Michigan won the game last year. So, like, I really don't have a great reason to choose one over the other. To me, until they play, it is both fan bases. But what I love about this, it's a bit of a quantum reality for these fans, because the one that loses, Aaron, won't just be slightly disappointed, but will be devastated, because their literal season will crumble in front of their eyes while their arch rival season gets made. And that's actually a beautiful narrative setup for a big rivalry game like that. So I'm very excited for that.
All right, well, let's go. My saddest team inside the Big Ten is your Nebraska Cornhusker right now. Or saddest fan base,
dude,
I guess.
I will fight you. I will fight you. That is impossible. Ooh.
You will have your time. You move on from the chosen one, Scott Frost. You know that hurt them. Like, that was their guy. There was if there was a coaching hire that had to work, it had to be Scott Frost leaving UCF to go to Nebraska. It just had to be right. No one No one thought that this was going to happen the way it happened. So you lose him. Now, all of a sudden, like, who really wants to go into Nebraska? Like, that is the big conversation. Like, you're not the premier job. Auburn, a team that may not make a bowl game, is a better destination right now. And that's all anyone cares about. No one cares about the Nebraska job that it's open. All anyone's talking about is who's going to be the next head coach at Auburn. How's that going to make the dominoes go from there when it comes to coaches out there? No one gives a damn about the Nebraska opening. That is how bad the situation is. That's how much no one really cares about them. They're just kind of buried at the bottom of the Big Ten right now. They haven't had a good season in forever. So if I'm a Nebraska fan, I'm kind of like, not even sad. I'm almost numb to the situation, honestly.
Okay, first off, Nebraska's an excellent job. Maybe the best job available right now. Okay.
Nope.
And the hire will prove that. Secondly, it's impossible to be too upset when you fire your coach. And you say, wait, how's that possible? You fired your coach. But what that comes with are the mind games of convincing yourself you're going to hit that home run higher and it's all going to work out in the end. Like if Scott Frost was still employed, I feel you, which brings me to my saddest fan base in the Big Ten, and that's Michigan State. Because you done married Mel Tucker. You're all in, till death do us part. And right now, you don't know, was last year the exception or the rule? It was a hell of a year. It was an unreal turnaround. And there can be no argument that Mel Tucker was way ahead of the curve when it comes to the transfer portal. The question is, now that everybody's caught up, which I fully believe everybody has caught up and then some, can Mel Tucker still stay ahead of the curve? Can he still win when everybody else is doing the same things that he was ahead of the curve on doing and that transfer portal? And also, Aaron, he has that hard driving, old school a-hole sort of style. That works when things are going good. But when you're losing, guys start to whisper in the locker room, discontent happens. Like, especially now with the transfer portal, you can bail if you're not feeling it. Like, I'm just saying, if I'm a Michigan State fan, I'm feeling very unsure about what I committed to and if it works out long-term. And I don't know if it's going to work out long-term either way. I'm not saying that I have a great read on it, but what I am saying is that there's a lot of worry and a lot of reason to be very scared right now if you're a Michigan State fan. All right, bro, where are you going now?
T-Bob, go first and do both Big 12 because we got to run. We got like 5 minutes. We got 3 conferences left.
Okay. I can go quick. Here we go. Happiest TCU. Obviously, right? I mean, you had Gary Patterson at TCU for 21 years, man who won your Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, perfect year. You have a statue of him, right? And he leaves, so that's already uncomfortable. You get Sonny Dykes, whatever. Sonny Dykes, sure, whatever. And now you look up and you're 10-0. You have a Heisman candidate. You just beat Texas and Texas. You make it a conference championship, make it a playoff. Of course, it's TCU. Saddest, WVU. Forget about the FTX guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, former WAD Shane Lyons, who just got fired. He should go to jail because he gave Neil Brown and a cash-strapped university a contract that pays Neil Brown $20 million in buyout money if you fire him before January 1st, Aaron Murray. I did not make that up. $20 million. Ed Ogeron put together the greatest team college football had ever seen. He got fired a year and a half later. He got a $17 million buyout. Neil Brown went 6-4 during the pandemic. If he gets fired a year and a half later, he gets $20 million. Put Shane Lyons in jail. That is ridiculous. I feel horrible for WU. I don't know how they get out of this. It's a tough time to be a Mountaineer.
All right, so I'm with you on the happiest. I mean, it has to be TCU. Like, who would have expected this team to be undefeated, in control of their own destiny, and currently be the number 4 team in the country with opportunity to go to the playoffs? So, I mean, like, they are maybe the happiest fan base in America at the moment. So TCU, Horned Frogs, go out there and do your thing. Saddest one is Oklahoma. Similar to the whole Scott Frost thing there at Nebraska, you bring home one of your own to be the head coach. And not only is it not working, but the defense is atrocious. Like that is the bigger worry for Oklahoma. Is like, man, like we knew we needed to get better on defense. We wanted to bring someone in to make our team a little bit tougher. That's all you heard from the offseason. Shoot, they brought back one of their old strength coaches to toughen this team up and be a little bit more physical on the defensive side. And it has not worked out. They are third to last in that conference and yards given up per game at over 430 yards. Not saying it's not going to get done. It's year one, so I don't want to freak out just yet. But you're about to leave to the SEC in 2 years. Is he going to be the head coach in 2 years? That conversation has already started. That is not good for a coach who just got to that university. So you have a bunch of fans right now very, very unhappy with how things are going at Oklahoma.
What we got, Brum?
Pac-12, go.
Happiest. All right. USC. Duh. Oh, my bad, Aaron. They pulled the coup of the offseason getting Lincoln Riley. Mm-hmm. Now they're incredible. Caleb Williams, Heisman candidate, 9-1, control their own destiny in the playoffs. Like it's very obvious. USC.
Yep. I'm with you.
Who do you got saddest?
All right. So happiest, I'm USC too. I mean, I do think they're somewhat in control of their own destiny. I think the best quarterback in America right now in Caleb Williams. You got an incredible head coach. You're about to go to the Big Ten. So like, what is, California people think they're, maybe a little bit better than everyone else. A little bit.
They are.
Now all of a sudden you're getting treated like it. You get to go to the Big Ten. You get all this money. You get to leave everyone in the Pac-12 behind. I think they feel really good, as they should. They should feel really good about that. So I think the energy right now in that program is pretty damn high at the moment. I think saddest right now is UCLA, just because they're just not really interested in football. Like the Rose Bowl is finally, it took the entire season in a matchup against your biggest rival for them to finally get a crowd at a home game. So I don't even know if it's saddest or just completely uninterested in football, which is to me very sad, because just like USC, you're going to the Big Ten, you're getting all this money, and people still really don't care.
So, Aaron, we are kind of approaching this the same way, just arriving different answers, because I don't have an answer for who the sad Pac-12 fan base is, because I don't know that you can have a sad Pac-12 fan base. Like, sure, Arizona's horrible, but they love basketball, right? Arizona State loves just being very attractive and having like crazy parties and being Barbies and Kens. You have Colorado, who sure, they were good football back in the day, but they're just super chill. Like, they're just kind of smoking weed, kicking it. Stanford only cares about hoarding gold in its endowment. Like, I don't know that anybody in the Pac-12 is actually capable of being sad over football, which is why USC is leaving to go to the Big Ten. One of the reasons. Also, never forget that Stanford during the pandemic threatened to cut sports with a $36 billion endowment. Oh man, I wish I hadn't used my only F word. Stanford, that's some bum ass stuff right there. Get out of here. Snip you, Stanford. Sorry, Brum, who you got?
Aaron, SEC, 30 seconds. Happiest, saddest.
All right, happiest team in the SEC, the Auburn Tigers. They got rid of the coach they never wanted, so they're ecstatic about that. Cadillac is the interim coach right now, and they're about to get Lane Kiffin. They got a new facility. They got a ton of NIL money. They're actually happy right now. They're the happiest losing record football team in America at the moment. You saw it. Like, what fan base stays 30 minutes after a game to celebrate a win against another team that sucks? Only Auburn. They are so happy right now. And then the saddest team in America is Texas A&M. In America, not just SEC, in America. A&M.
Well, and speaking of A&M, we don't give Auburn enough crap for being kind of culty as well, right? We always say about Auburn, or A&M, but Auburn's pretty culty. My happiest is Tennessee. Doesn't matter, they're not going to Atlanta. How about this, Aaron? They haven't won 10 games since 2007. Their SEC record in those 14 years, 40-74. They nearly lost twice as many games as they won in 15 years, and now they're going to finish 11-1, throwing the deep ball, looking sustainable. So give me Tennessee. And then I think the saddest is Kentucky, because it proved to them that after years of trying to convince yourself that you could be the guy, that Stoops was the guy. I mean, not only are you very much not the guy, you're right back where you started, but Tennessee comes back and in year 2 under Heupel does this. They really cucked you. They cucked you and outdid you. So sad Kentucky, happy Tennessee. And that is Use Your Words. Huge thank you to Ryan Brumley, Paul Farrington, Pat Gunner, and everybody over at The Volume for making this show happen. Of course, the biggest thank you to you, the listeners who spend time with us, who hit the like button, who share it, who rate and review wherever you get podcasts. That really helps. Massive thank you to FanDuel. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, promo code SNAPS. And as always, thank you to Papa Colin for giving us this opportunity. We love you, and we'll be back with more snaps tomorrow.